political, but it is not partisan. Together we can, dare I say it, save the world! Let's march!
In numbers, the protests were dramatic, but relatively low-key in character.
We're not just nerds sitting in a laboratory somewhere. We want to make change, and we want to make our world a better place.
Scientists and their supporters taking issue with what they see as a government that has turned against them.
It's a sobering reality that Americans have to protest for science.
And while organizers labeled it a nonpartisan event, many of those who attended blamed the Republican administration of Donald Trump for what they see as a war on science.
There isn't even a hint that they have any interest in public welfare or the welfare of the planet. I think it's giving them too much credit to say that this is ignorance. I think at this point it's fair to call it malice.
Trump's comments on climate change have stirred controversy.
It'll go up, it'll get a little cooler, it'll get a little warmer like it always has for millions of years. It'll get cooler, it'll get warmer, it's called weather.
Comments which go against what most scientists are saying, not only in the US, but globally. Demonstrations to mark Earth Day in other countries around the world had a similar theme. One that appealed directly to policymakers about the importance of investing in science.
Evidence-based judgments are the foundation of, how we make decisions in society. Science doesn't tell society what to do, ever. But what it does provide is a foundation of knowledge, evidence-based knowledge, that lets society make good decisions.
Trump's drive to slash the budget of the US environmental watchdog, the EPA, along with proposals to cut the funding of government agencies which collect climate data, are at the heart of protesters' concerns. Trump has released a statement saying that his policies are aimed at reducing unnecessary burdens on American workers, and that rigorous science is critical to his goals of economic growth and environmental protection.
We're going to put the miners back to work. We're going to put the miners back to work.
Trump has pushed back against environmental regulations of the previous Obama administration to appeal to communities in Middle America that have been economically left behind. But many in the scientific community see his approach as opposed to their work, set out in the Hippocratic Oath as based on rationality rather than politics. And as scientists are usually reluctant to wade in political swamps, it seems that a rising tide under the Trump administration may engulf them. Randolph Nogle, The Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Chicago is Christian Aloma. He's the director of Chicago's March for Science. Thanks so much for joining us. Christian, politics is really about telling the best story. It's not often about facts. Science is about facts. Politics is, I guess, playing a dirty game about telling a good story. Why on earth would scientists want to get involved in the dirty business of politics?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and that story is certainly critical to politics, but story is also critical to science, and science has been and is always going to be inherently political. As long as scientific research is used to inform policy, as long as it's used to, as long as the decisions are made about budgets in regards to what gets funded, what research we do, what medical research we focus on, and the way we prioritize science in society. It is inherently political, and to suggest otherwise, we think is just simply sort of a mistake, that science is certainly and always will be directly political.
Those marches this past weekend, were they for science or were they against Trump?
They were entirely for science. They are against policy making, regardless of whether you're in Trump's administration or whether you're on one side of the political aisle or the other. They are for individuals that are using research, evidence-based research, peer-reviewed research to develop policy. They're for individuals that are making budget decisions that will affect scientific research here in the US and certainly around the world. Now, it is certainly a lot of criticism is sent towards President Trump's administration, largely because of those decisions that they're making. But their science has been under threat, certainly within society and within government, before President Trump, and we expect that certainly there'll be populations and communities that continue to doubt the validity of science even after President Trump's term.
And I know Trump had some colorful tweets in the past, for example, calling global warming a Chinese conspiracy and so on. But is there empirical evidence right now that now that he's in office, that his administration is actively harming science?
Absolutely. You know, we're just seeing even today the note that certain the data collections on websites are being shut down, and we've got activists on the internet that are working to archive and keep that data available to us. You know, we know even to this point, the administration has yet to pick a science advisor to the president. And the proposed budget cuts that he made were huge threats to a number of scientific organizations, from the EPA to the NIH to a number of others. And so there is certainly a direct correlation between President Trump's positions on science and the effect on science overall. But we have the evidence, we have the research, we have the scientists, and we have society at large that believes in the work of those scientific organizations that are trying to raise their voice and to influence their politicians, their congressmen, their representatives to vote for science in those policies.
What's the biggest threat right now? Is it climate change and the fact that maybe this administration's not taking it as seriously as the previous administration?
Yeah, there has been, you know, climate change certainly, and the evidence behind that is well backed, and it is one of our greatest threats here. It's why part of the reason the march was held on Earth Day here in the U.S. and around the world was to sort of re-emphasize and reinforce that message. But we also believe that science, in all different kinds, from the hard sciences to the soft sciences, the social sciences, are also under threat. And we think that it's about prioritizing that role of science in our society, and not just at the government level, but at the social level, at the society level, that it's affecting and impacting all of us, whether we are in government or in, you know, I'm a marketing consultant here in Chicago, or whether you're just raising two kids that you're trying to hope have that sense of curiosity that science gives us.
And I know you said this is against all sort of unthinking or non-fact-based thinking, but there are going to be those, and I go back to the political aspect of this, there are going to be those who want to take you on board as allies. So it might be those from among the women who marched during the Women's March. There might be just generally Democrats who don't like Trump, who want to take you on board as allies because you marched against this president or against this administration and what it's doing. Are you comfortable with that and where it might lead you?
You know, we intentionally made this effort and the March for Science a nonpartisan effort. We intentionally refused and turned down politicians that asked to speak at the event because we do want this to remain nonpartisan. We think this affects both sides of the aisle. We are comfortable with politicians, hopefully on both sides of the aisle, certainly ascribing and standing for science and the positions that we're taking, and certainly expect that that will happen, that there will be those that are in a line. But we're hoping to begin a conversation, to begin a story, as you pointed out earlier, on both sides and across both sides of the aisle, to emphasize the role and the importance of science in government policymaking especially, but across all aspects of society.
So you're confident that they're going to listen to you?
Well, I've got the energy and the inspiration, and certainly here in Chicago, about 60,000 individuals that came out on Saturday to raise that voice so that hopefully, even if they're not listening, they're at least hearing us.
Okay, Christian, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much, Christian Aloma.
Thank you so much.